a single terrorist can put something in the water or shoot something or shoot a missile, a small missile, and it's fairly close range because it is a tight area, and which is one of the reasons they've always used that as a weapon. Iran has always used that as an economic weapon, and it's not going to be able to be used very long. Numerous countries have told me they're on the way. Some are very enthusiastic about it, and some aren't. Some are countries that we've helped for many, many years. We've protected them from horrible outside sources, and they weren't that enthusiastic. And the level of enthusiasm, it matters to me. We have some countries where we have 45,000 soldiers, great soldiers, protecting them from harm's way. And we have done a great job. And when we want to know, do you have any minesweepers? Well, would rather not get involved, sir. I said, you mean for 40 years we're protecting you and you don't want to get involved in something that is very minor, very few shots going to be taken because they don't have many shots left. But they said, we'd rather not get involved. I just want the fake news media and everybody else to remember that was said, because I've been a big critic of all of the protecting of countries, because I know that we'll protect them, and if we ever needed help, they won't be there for us. I've just known that for a long period of time, just like I knew about the Strait, that it would be a weapon, which I predicted a long time ago. Predicted all of this stuff. You guys were very generous in that. I predicted all of it. I predicted Osama bin Laden would knock out the World Trade Center. I made that prediction a year before he did it. I said, you better get him. He's a bad guy. I watched him be interviewed one time, and I said, that's a bad guy. You better get him. 1 year before, exactly. I wrote it in a book. You can even check. About a year before the World Trade Center came down, President Clinton actually had a shot at him, and he didn't take it. Unfortunately, I'm not blaming him for that, but he didn't take it. And he ended up knocking down the World Trade Center, but I predicted that too. I predicted a lot of things. We strongly encourage other nations whose economies depend on the Strait for blood. I mean, these people literally need it. 95% of their energy or their oil comes out of the Strait, and they should be in here very happily helping us. And it's incredible. We have such great, we're #1 in oil by double now. We drill, baby, drill. We're double any other nation, and it's going to be soon triple any other nation. And that doesn't include Venezuela, who's been great. By the way, the relationship with Venezuela has been fantastic. Millions, literally millions of barrels of oil are being taken out, and it's been a great help, and it's been to their great benefit. The president has done a really good job. We get along with him really well, but we've taken out millions of barrels of oil and brought to Houston and other places to the refineries. We have refineries set up specifically for that, and it's been a great relationship, and more and more is happening. It's a tremendous oil source, and we're stepping it up very rapidly. The big companies are going in, and they will actually, numbers in a pretty short period of time, numbers that they've never been able to do, we'll be doing. There's a lot of oil under that land. We strongly encourage the other nations to get involved with us, and get involved quickly and with great enthusiasm. I have that from a number of them, and I'd like to say their names, but frankly, I don't know if they would want me to or not, because maybe they don't want to be targeted. But I say, wouldn't matter if you're targeted or not, because this is a paper tiger that we're dealing with now. It wasn't a paper tiger 2 weeks ago. It's a paper tiger now. So now we're going to get down to the reason. We'll take a couple of questions in a moment, but we're going to get down to the reason we're here today. Actually, this was set up a long time ago. It's the Trump Kennedy Center. Over the past year, we've made incredible strides to restore the true purpose and prestige of this revered institution. Together, we're going to ensure it remains the finest performing arts facility of its kind anywhere in the world. And I don't know that it ever really reached that stage, but it will over a period of time. We're rebuilding it. It's in very, very bad
that's
condition.
the U.S. President Donald Trump speaking at the Kennedy Center. He was listing out the achievements of the U.S. military as far as Iran is concerned, saying 7,000 targets have been obliterated and 90% of Iran's missile attacks have been curtailed. Of course, giving out how they have been a terror for 47 long years and how Donald Trump and the United States of America have been able to completely obliterate the Iranian military infrastructure. We'll keep getting you more details from the United States of America. We're slipping into a short break at the moment.
Global policymakers, global military leaders, global strategists, 7 pulsating themes. One global stage. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
Breaking
missiles
news.
and raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is one.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Beyond the noise and rhetoric, no election, no ballot issue too small. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics, more than just headlines. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power. Only on WION. World is one.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We are live on WION World is One. Time now for Pulse. American Zoka. The headlines. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says that some neighboring states are hosting U.S. forces and allowing attacks on Iran, are also actively encouraging the killing of Iranians. Trump urges countries to help secure Strait of Hormuz. This as several NATO countries resist U.S.'s demand on military aid. The UAE's state-owned energy giant ADNOC has halted the loading of oil into storage tanks at their Fujairah facility, this following repeated strikes on the energy installation. Iran state media says Iranian Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei has appointed former Revolutionary Guard Commander Mohsen Rezai as military advisor. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has shared another video showing him interacting with civilians in Israel while the region continues to face tensions linked to the ongoing war with Iran. Iranians taking a train from Iran to Turkey with airspace shut. This even as bombs drop around the city as US and Israel continue their strikes around the country. International Energy Agency Chief Fatih Birol says more strategic oil stocks could be released if necessary to limit the fallout of the virtual blockade of supplies through the Strait of Hormuz owing to the war on Iran. Iran's Revolutionary Guards Corps have threatened to target US companies across the region, calling on employees to evacuate the sites. The guards, on their official SEPA news website, said, and I quote, "Employees of American companies are requested to leave these areas immediately. These areas will soon be targeted by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps." It was not immediately clear which companies would be targeted, but last week, the Tasnim news agency published a list of potential targets on Telegram that included the offices of tech giants such as Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Nvidia in the Gulf countries. Well, this is the latest coming in from the IRGC, and the Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps have issued a statement threatening to target US companies across the region, calling on employees to evacuate the sites. The Guard Corps, on their official SEPA news website, said, and I quote, "Employees of American companies are requested to leave these areas immediately. These areas will soon be targeted by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps." It was not immediately clear which companies would be targeted, but last week, the Tasnim news agency published a list of potential targets on Telegram that included the offices of tech giants such as Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Nvidia in the Gulf countries. And this statement was issued just after President Trump, who's hosting a luncheon at the White House to commemorate the Kennedy Center. He says, "We are destroying Iran's capacity to disrupt vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has been completely obliterated. The Navy, the military, and the Air Force is no longer there in Iran." He also pointed out to why the United States attacked the Karg Island and why they spared the oil pipelines. He says that if they're going to attack the pipelines, it will only take 5 minutes. Let's talk to our correspondent, Susan Teherani. She is in New York. She's joining us on the phone. Susan Teherani, this latest warning by the IRGC on US companies based in the Gulf countries is quite a worrying trend coming from Iran. What is the United States or what is the Washington reaction to this threat being issued by the IRGC?
So we're hearing from President Trump right now, Eric, as you mentioned, he's having a press conference about something not related, but he is talking about Iran to a certain extent. The United States is issuing its own threats against Iran. As you mentioned, the infrastructure in Kharg Island, he said that they haven't been targeted if the Strait of Hormuz is not opened, and I assume possibly if these threats by Iran continue, then the United States would go back again and bomb those as well. But the issue with this threat by Iran is it's not immediately clear which companies will be targeted. Although last week, Tansim, one of the Iranian news agencies, on its Telegram, said that, tech giants like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, NVIDIA, all of these bases in Gulf countries, they're all fair play. We'll have to wait to see what President Trump is going to say about this, if he's going to address it or not. But I wouldn't be surprised if this question is addressed through Caroline Leavitt, his White House press secretary, and we'll get some kind of reaction with that. But I think it's going to be threats replying to threats, as we have seen.
Well, the statements being made by the president at the White House seem to be no different from what he has been saying for over a week now. He said that they've targeted over 7,000 targets in Iran. Iran has completely been obliterated by the U.S. military, the Air Force, the military, and the, what did he say? The Navy is no longer there, and it's no longer functioning in Iran. He also said that the reason why they attacked the Kharg Island is because they wanted no military presence on the island, and he said he spared the oil pipelines, but if he was to decide to attack the oil pipelines, it will take him 5 minutes.
Yeah, they are very similar, and I think that we hear from CENTCOM as well. It's not so much, I think they are pretty on track and on schedule to reach their objectives when it comes to having air superiority and attacking Iran's Navy and Iran's military, and that's why you don't really see any Iranian aircraft in the sky. The problem with Iran right now is it's almost carrying out what many are calling now as kind of insurgency, where it has these low-cost drones, and then it also has still these missile launchers that are very deep into the ground, which the United States has not been able to reach. But I think those drones and those drone attacks are what is really causing a problem for the United States. And also what is concerning about those is that, Iran may be, because they're so cheap, Iran may be able to sustain this kind of war that it's having right now for a longer period than the U.S. anticipated.
The president also criticized the countries or allies that are not supporting the United States when it comes to opening the Strait of Hormuz. He says, or he has criticized the United Kingdom and also especially Europe, the whole of Europe, for not supporting the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. And in fact, Germany has reacted. Germany says this is not their war. Susan.
Yeah, this was anticipated considering the fact that the president seems very frustrated at this point. And I wouldn't be surprised if we hear a harsher tone towards these countries as he has before, to kind of say, we're not the ones that are benefiting from the Strait of Hormuz. It's your country, so come and clean it up yourself, which I think would not only, anger those European countries, which have somewhat been disrespected by the president a lot in the past few months, but also the question is really capability. Does Europe by itself, NATO, without the United States, has the capability to take on something like this? But I think Japan is going to be very interesting because he's expected to meet with the United States ambassador to Japan later this afternoon. It'll be interesting to hear a readout about that if we have it and see whether or not he can at least persuade a country like Japan to possibly help, again, which is very unlikely.
Susan is our eyes and ears in the United States. She's also a correspondent in New York. Susan, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you. The naval tension in West Asia is rising sharply. Iran is now warning that America's most powerful warships could become targets in the widening conflict. And the focus of that warning is the massive USS Gerald R. Ford operating near Saudi Arabia.
out in the waters of the Red Sea, a giant steel city moves slowly across the horizon. The USS Gerald R. Ford, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier weighing nearly 100,000 tons. A floating fortress capable of launching waves of fighter jets and missiles deep into enemy territory. Surrounding it is a powerful shield, guided missile destroyers, cruisers armed with advanced radar systems, submarines lurking beneath the surface. But now, Iran is openly challenging that power. Iranian officials have issued a warning directed at Saudi Arabia and regional allies hosting US military. Tehran says that any country providing support facilities for the USS Gerald R. Ford could become a legitimate target if the war escalates further. The warning comes after Iran claimed it had already targeted another US carrier, the USS Abraham Lincoln, during the ongoing war. Washington has strongly rejected those claims, saying there was no damage to the warship. But the rhetoric from Tehran is intensifying. Iranian commanders have long argued that their missile and drone arsenal is capable of threatening even the most heavily protected aircraft carriers. The stakes are enormous. The USS Gerald R. Ford and the USS Abraham Lincoln are some of the most advanced carriers ever built. Iran has the firepower. The US has the most powerful military. A strike on an aircraft carrier could change the stakes in the high-intensity war in West Asia. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Jemima Shelley is a senior research analyst at United Against Nuclear Iran. She's now joining us live from London. Ms. Jemima Shelley, thank you very much for making time for us. I'm sure you've done your research and you've heard from people who are living in Tehran. Let's begin from there. What are they telling you is happening on the ground? Is it as bad as Washington is painting the picture to look like?
Look, the situation on the ground in Iran seems to be fairly catastrophic for the Iranian regime itself. The US and Israeli strikes have systematically dismantled the IRGC's command, the drone and missile infrastructure, and internal repression apparatus that was core to suppressing the past protests earlier this year. Of course, the air defences and launchers with over 1,200 bombs have sent, the latest waves hitting predominantly military security centres, Tehran command centres, air bases, and, as was mentioned earlier, the Karg Islands military base, which was seen as a new phase in the US's military strategy. Now, they haven't yet targeted any of the oil infrastructure, merely just the military bases in that location. But, in summary, Iranian state media has claimed to fired over 2,500 missiles early on. It's looking like even higher numbers now. So their missile and drone arsenal will be in part depleted. And of course, CENTCOM has reported 5,500 targets hit, 100 naval vessels sunk. The vessels that were supposedly or reportedly putting mines in the Strait of Hormuz, they've also been targeted. I think it would be fair to say that Mojtaba Khamenei's leadership will definitely be hunkered down underground, hiding from potential targeted strikes. Not to mention, if you look across the region, Iran's proxies like Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis have been totally weakened and have shown little support. Limited, but in many cases little. I mean, we haven't seen much at all from Russia or China in terms of Iran's natural allies. And so I think, the situation for the Iranian regime is looking quite dire. However, of course, we have also seen Iran's dark fleet activity to be continuing. At least 7 vessels have passed the Strait of Hormuz carrying Iranian oil, most likely to China. And this oil trade is, of course, what will continue to payroll the ongoing conflict.
Let's talk about the Strait of Hormuz, because it's the new flashpoint in this war, and it's the new choke point of this war. In your own view, why do you think America's allies are kind of reluctant to support America and to support President Trump in opening the Strait of Hormuz? What's the friction between Trump and the EU?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen the reluctance of European countries to support the US in trying to allow safe passage of vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz. I think this is a mixture of many factors. I think there has been a slight panic. I think there is, of course, war fatigue across European nations, given that their primary focus has, of course, for years been the Ukrainian conflict and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. I think, though, of course, when NATO countries say it's not our war, what do we mean? European refiners face spiking, and sort of populations face spiking oil prices from this effective near closure by the IRGC of the Strait of Hormuz. I think, it is in our interest for these vessels to be transiting this waterway. Yes, I mean, it is, again, this friction boils down to the Europe viewing it as a regional issue that's far away and not a threat meriting their own involvement. We have seen, however, some European nations providing defensive support to some of their Gulf allies. I think, looking forward, Trump does want an international coalition to support vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz, which the Europeans are mulling over. However, while they take their time to consider their options, it also could take a week for these naval escort vessels to actually get to the region. So we are looking at a bit of time before anything, whatever is decided, could take place.
Ms. Jemima Shelley, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time and for talking to us today.
Thank you.
This is the latest from Iran. Ali Larijani, the head of Iran's National Security Council, has just issued a 6-point message to Muslim people throughout the world. And it's specifically meant for the governments of Muslim nations. Larijani begins his message by saying that Iran was attacked deceitfully while it was engaging in negotiations with the US. But he says that despite this, Iran has been steadfast and driven the enemy to a strategic impasse. Larijani added that during all this, no Islamic nation had stood in solidarity with Iran. He said that instead, some nations had started considering Iran their adversary because it targeted US assets in their countries. He addressed the Islamic nations directly and insisted that the US was devoid of loyalty, and he said that Israel was the enemy of all Muslim nations. Larijani ended his message by calling for Muslim unity. You are watching WION Pulse. Time now for a quick break. Just ahead, the report by United States Commission on International Religious Freedom that has created a stir in New Delhi. More information coming up next.
Vielleicht nur als Imposant
Welcome back. You are watching WION Pulse. India has issued a sharp rejoinder to a report by the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom. New Delhi has rejected the findings of the US CIRF report and called it motivated and biased. In its report, the US CIRF has recommended that Washington should impose targeted sanctions on organizations including the RSS and India's external intelligence agency, the Research and Analysis Wing. India's foreign ministry has firmly rejected these allegations and called the report a distorted and selective characterization of India. The ministry accused the commission of relying on questionable sources and ideological narratives rather than objective facts. It also said such reports undermine the commission's own credibility. The panel, created by the US Congress in 1998, monitors religious freedom conditions worldwide and makes policy recommendations to the American government. In its latest annual report, the Commission designated India as a country of particular concern. The report claimed that religious freedom conditions in India have continued to deteriorate. It accused authorities of targeting religious minorities. The report also referred to communal clashes and several laws passed in various states against religious conversion. India's foreign ministry accused the US-based commission of ignoring reality. New Delhi also turned the spotlight back on the United States. It urged the commission to pay attention to attacks and vandalism targeting Hindu temples in the US, as well as incidents of intimidation against members of the Indian diaspora. Thank you for watching WION Pulse. Stay with us. This is WION World as One.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Beyond the noise and rhetoric, no election, no ballot issue too small. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics, more than just headlines. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION. World is One.
Global policymakers, global military leaders, global strategists, 7 pulsating themes. One global stage. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
Breaking
missiles
news.
and raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One. Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
It's about the support that those terrorist groups.
LTT has been wiped out.
Afghanistan would expect India.
This Hafiz Saeed issue.
Deepest disappointment and concern.
दुनिया पहले दो कैंप में दो खेमे में
Müslüman düşmanlığı yapmaya başladı.
Political activism.
So long as my country,
From the conversations that mattered to capturing the pulse for the future.